What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. A very happy Wednesday. Got some baseball going on. We've got some golf tomorrow, another signature event. By the way, the Early Wedge is already in your feed, but Nick Castrucci said it just better than everyone else. Good morning, family. Good morning to you, Nick, and everybody else. I do want to say it was Big Cheesy who mentioned the passing of the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. So a lot of people, Jerry West, Bill Walton, Willie Mays, just over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Very sad, very high impact on the game, and they will absolutely be missed. Let's try to transition to our recap screen. Let's see how we did yesterday. I believe it was a losing record. Buckets really comes through 2-0. Proppy goes 1 for 2. I narrowly missed my first 5. And then Larry and the SportsLine pick do not come through either. 3 and 4. We got to do better than that. And we're going to with the stars of the show. Let's bring them in right here, right now. It's a Wednesday, so you know Martin Green is going to be here. We've got Zack, Cimini, and Mike McClure. Mike always rocking the right wardrobe. I got to ask you, though, Mike, because it is kind of baseball the rest of the way. Of course, we have Euros 2024. We're going to be talking Martin Green, but the NBA finals are gone. NHL finals are about to be gone in 2 to 4 days. Let's start talking, if you don't mind, weather reports. As we have this huge MLB slate on a Wednesday, anything from a weather standpoint to talk about before we get into these games?
Yeah, that's, when you lose some of those other sports, it's when baseball for me gets exciting as we finally get warmer weather. It gets to be a lot of fun in those environments. So today we do have a few that are really significant. Wrigley Field, it's mostly significant anytime the wind's blowing out, but just the air quality and temperature today, that combo, very, very good. By far the best day we've seen at Wrigley so far this season, by far the best on the slate. Good conditions in New York. The other Chicago game that we have a little more storm concern right over that ballpark, but I think it's going to be fine. So good conditions for the Astros and White Sox as well. And then a surprising one, actually good numbers here on the Cleveland Guardians game, Seattle and Cleveland. Pretty low air density for this time of year in Cleveland, playing more like a late July game there. So those ones would be the best, but by far Wrigley Field, best situation today.
All right. Take a look at Wrigley. By the way, Zach, I'm taking a look at the chat, and there's somebody who likes the Yankees total over 8. I think that's a very interesting observation. Maybe we'll hear something about that later in the show. But right here, right now, Martin Green, I got to go to you. Euros 2024. We got Bradley Jacobs in the chat. He went 2-0 yesterday on the show. Of course, Buckets went 2-0 yesterday on the show. No pressure, but I think that means you got to go 2-0 on the show today. What you got?
I will try my best here. It's a busy week in soccer because Euro 2024 is still going strong, and Copa America starts this week too in the United States. Got Brazil, Argentina, lots of big teams going over to America to compete. So loads of games to look forward to. And I'm starting with a game taking place today between Switzerland and Scotland. Switzerland really should be full of confidence after they beat Hungary 3-1 at the weekend. Hungary are a decent team, but Switzerland really outclassed them in midfield, and they deserve to win that match. That result left the Swiss level on points with Germany at the top of their group. I think they should just be too strong for Scotland when the teams meet today. Scotland are coming off a dismal 5-1 defeat to Germany. I think the players could be a little dejected. Their key defender, Ryan Porteous, is suspended because he was sent off against Germany. I just think they could struggle to contain a dangerous Swiss attack. So I'm keeping it simple and going for a Switzerland money line win. Also think that Germany should beat Hungary pretty comfortably today too. As I said, Copa America begins this week. So while I'm on the show, I just wanted to give out a pick for the weekend, as I think that Uruguay versus Panama looks like a bit of a mismatch. Uruguay have superb players in every department, including Jose Jimenez, Federico Valverde of Real Madrid, Darwin Núñez, veteran striker Luis Suarez, whereas Panama really lack that star quality. Panamanians have lost 3 of their last 5 games against reasonable opposition. I think they could struggle against Uruguay. So I'm giving Uruguay a minus 1.5 handicap because I think they should win it by 2 clear goals.
All right. We've got Switzerland money line. We've got Uruguay minus 1.5, both minus 105 and minus 110. I love the plays, Martin Green. I know there's other soccer picks in the chat as well. Let's hit them all. And by the way, if you're going to bet them all, you don't have to, but if you're going to bet them all, BetMGM, that's a pretty good place to do it. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I kind of teased it with the comment in the chat. We got Zack right here. He's ready to give out a play on this Yankees Orioles game, which got a little heated and a bit dangerous yesterday. And we'll talk all about it right after this message from our partners. We are back on the Early Edge presented by BetMGM. A lot of picks in the chat, by the way. I see you, Brandon Silva, Gipper's picks, Big Cheesy, Bradley Jacobs. That's only a few. I'm just looking at one part of the screen. I already see 4 or 5 picks. So keep them coming. Absolutely love to see it. And Zack, love when you're on the show. And I love to see that you picked a game where, I don't know, is this the most exciting series going right now? Probably. Anytime the Yankees are in a series, it's a good chance it is exciting. But they're playing the Orioles. And yesterday, things got a little chippy. We thought we had maybe a major injury to Aaron Judge. I believe x-rays were negative. I don't know if there's an update on that. I don't know if he's playing. Was it Aaron Judge? Oh, it was Soto who had the third base issue, the base running issue, but it was Aaron Judge who got hit. Anyway, I don't think Aaron Judge is playing today. Maybe you do. But either way, you like some runs in this one, right?
Yeah, see, I'm going to go with the total and play the over on 8 runs. This did come down from 8.5 to 8, maybe because this has been an under series so far this year. 5 games played, 4-1 to the under. But we have a couple of variables that I like today. Mike mentioned the good weather. You mentioned the what happened yesterday between both teams. It's going to be a good game, competitive. You look at Garrett Cole making his season debut. Very tough spot against this Baltimore Orioles potent lineup. You go back to Cole's only home start against the Orioles last year. He had issues. He gave up 5 runs, 2 home runs, 1 to Gunnar Henderson, 1 to Cedric Mullins. So I think it's going to be a tough spot for Cole to test that arm in his first start this season. And then on the opposite side, Orioles starter Cade Povich is just making his 3rd start this year. Had a great outing his last time out at home against the Atlanta Braves, but his prior road start, he struggled with command issues, control issues against the Toronto Blue Jays. Got him in trouble in the 3rd inning. He had 4 total walks, but in that 3rd inning, had 2 walks, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. took care of that with a 3-run home run. He also had trouble in the 6th inning that forced him out, a walk. Gave up a couple runs as well. So I think that both teams are going to produce to their capabilities today at the plate. I'll go over the 8 runs.
Yeah, interesting to see Garrett Cole, Povich on the mound. I think you might get the reference, Zach. I think Maury Povich when you say Povich. I was going to make up something ridiculous like this Povich is the great nephew of Maury, but everybody would have bought that. It's just completely random.
The results are in. We're getting a win.
Results are in. Oh, what a great reference that was. All right, we're going to go back to Scotland. I say that because we're going to my pick, and I know Martin Green, I know this game isn't in Scotland, but he was targeting a Scottish team, if memory serves, just a couple of minutes ago. I'm going with Robert McIntyre. We're doing a first-round matchup. Of course, this is tomorrow, the signature event at the Travelers. 71 players. It's a completely loaded field, minus Rory and some of the live guys. We did the early wedge yesterday at 7 o'clock. It's in your feed. Check it out. I'm targeting a round 1 matchup. This goes off super early in the morning. It's one of the first groups that are out. And so, obviously, it's going to start before the early edge tomorrow. I've got Robert McIntyre, minus 130 over Jake Knapp. This is an interesting one. I actually think this number should be a little bit higher or a little bit longer when it comes to Robert McIntyre being favored here, because Jake Knapp, this is not the course fit for him in Cromwell. It's not necessarily a good course fit for Robert McIntyre, but he has way more tools in the bag against Jake Knapp. Jake Knapp, traditionally pretty good off the tee. We know he won an event earlier in the year, but everything else is trending in the wrong direction. Putter, around the green, approach play. Whereas Robert McIntyre is also, just like Jake Knapp, a little inconsistent off the tee, a little erratic off the tee. So that will hurt them here for sure. But what Robert McIntyre has that Jake Knapp doesn't is the approach play, is the around the green play, and the putting play, which is going to be really important here. So I think Robert McIntyre absolutely outclasses Jake Knapp here. I don't want to say it's a mismatch. It's 18 holes, obviously, but I just don't think this is the course for Jake Knapp. And again, because I don't think it's necessarily a course for Robert McIntyre, but he can make up for his erraticism off the tee way more than Jake Knapp can. So give me Robert McIntyre minus 130 over Jake Knapp. I do think Robert McIntyre is a little sneaky just in DFS and things of that nature as well. And by the way, I think this is my first, by the way, of the show. I added a first round leader from yesterday's early wedge show, and I'll just deliver it to you right now. So yesterday I had 2 first round leaders. One was Sepp Straka. The other one was, let's see, Taylor Pendrith, quite the long shot at 66-1. I'm adding, also going out in the morning, Sahith Theegala at 33-1 as a first round leader. And before we get to your pick, Mike, I do want to ask you, I just mentioned a few names. Do you already have your outright card finished? Do you already have the guys that you're targeting from an outright standpoint, or do you need more time? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I have them up. I usually have those up by Monday morning. I just get them early, and I got decent numbers just because of Rory withdrawing, having bet before that news broke. I would say guys that I'm interested in this week, I have a lot of Connors. I have a lot of Jordan Spieth, believe it or not.
Interesting.
And then longer shot, Adam Svensson.
All right. Svensson certainly can be a ball striker. Connors, I like a lot as well. Probably going to be pretty popular in DFS. A lot of people like him. The approach play has been very good. The ball striking, very good for Connors, Mike, as you know. And what's interesting about Connors and why I do think he has outright potential, Mike, is it's a small sample size, but 2 out of the last 3 tournaments, he's really spiked with the putter. If that continues, he can absolutely win this tournament, right?
Absolutely. No, he's definitely live. Removing Rory, a big deal at the top. I think that this being the week after the major as well, I think a little bit of a hangover for some of the guys. So, yeah, I think it's a good spot for Corey Connors.
Yeah, fair enough. And before we get to your baseball pick, Mike, I do want to address the comment in the chat. David Talk says, I'm fading Cantlay. Wow, he says. So just keep in mind that portion of the early wedge references DFS. I am fading Cantlay in DFS. I'm also not a fan of him really in the outright market, just for whatever that's worth. But just keep in mind, I think there's other players in DFS from a game theory standpoint with lower ownership that I think are going to be as good or better than Patrick Cantlay. Guys like Victor Hovland, that's right around him. I know he's not as popular as Patrick Cantlay this week, but that's the whole reason I like him in DFS as opposed to maybe some other markets. So just something to keep in mind there. But either way, to your point, not the biggest Patrick Cantlay fan, even though his history is pretty great here in Cromwell. All right, Mike, I don't know if you have any more golf commentary, but what I really want is the baseball commentary. You've got a team total over on an unusual suspect. What is it?
Yes. Quick comment on Patrick Cantlay, though. I have him just 16th in my simulations that are up over on SportsLine. So definitely not on Patrick Cantlay at all this week. Now, for baseball today, we get a little day baseball, Wrigley Field. We're going the Giants here. I'm isolating their side, though. We're going Giants team total over 5.5 runs. Yes, it is a big number. We need 6 to cash it. I think we get there, though. I like this matchup against Kyle Hendricks. Kyle Hendricks is someone that really has never been a high strikeout guy, but he's having the worst year of his career so far. Down to just 15% on the strikeout rate, highest walk rate of his career, highest expected weighted on base average. He's a guy that kind of leads with a changeup. But when you look at his four-seam fastball this year, the average exit velocity on that pitch, 97.7 miles per hour. This is not a great recipe for success in these conditions. Very low air density index in the 50s, the wind blowing out the 90 degrees. Again, we all know that it matters at Wrigley, but it matters a lot at Wrigley. That's why you see numbers that are essentially passing Coors Field in terms of totals in these conditions. Love the fact that it's a day game and we're going to see those conditions throughout. And not going to have that impact with the cooling off later in the game, late innings. So I like this one a lot for the Giants. We're going to go team total over 5.5. Love the fact that they'll get a guaranteed 9th inning here as well. So looking for 6 runs against Kyle Hendricks tonight or this afternoon and the Giants.
All right, Giants team total with the weather in mind over 5.5. By the way, RJ Lamarty, I'm not going to read your comment. Not that I can't read it, but big fan of Martin Green. Absolutely love that you dropped in. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Big Cheesy Mike McClure says, Mike, I love this pick. I'm also on the San Francisco money line. Let's see, Martin, I do want to ask you something, though, because before Euros 2024 started, I think you were on the early edge with me on CBS Sports Network, actually, talking about team futures and group stages, who you think is going to emerge. Has anything changed? Like, for those of us that aren't necessarily peppering, maybe in the chat, that aren't peppering every single soccer game that you or Buckets or Bradley or anybody else is putting out there, from a future standpoint, has your opinion changed on any of the futures you gave out earlier? And what I mean by that is there maybe a new team that has emerged that maybe has some good futures odds that you didn't consider pre-Euros 2024?
I wouldn't say a great deal has changed, Sia, to be honest. I still think that England and France will meet in one semi-final. And I think the other semi-final, the main contenders there are Germany, Spain and Portugal. Portugal probably a little less interesting than I thought before the tournament, whereas Germany really exceeded expectations by blowing Scotland away. So I think they have a better chance now of going deep into the competition. I did really like Kylian Mbappe to be the top scorer, but I'm kind of going off that a bit now, seeing as he broke his nose in the opening game of the tournament and he could miss the second group stage game. So that one's looking a bit less appealing to me. But pretty much, apart from that, everything's gone as planned. And yeah, I can still see it being between England and France on one side and Spain, Germany and Portugal on the other.
All right. And by the way, that's number 2. So I'm still under the 3 limit. David Talk says his simulations like Morikawa, Tom Kim, I assume that's Tom Kim as opposed to Siwoo Kim or any of the other Kims in the tournament, and Cantlay in the top 20. And Jeff Sternberg says Michael Thorbjornsen, top 20. Very interesting. An up-and-comer, new guy to the tour, new guy to this tournament for sure. I did have one other thing. I'm forgetting what it was. It was golf-related. I'm sure I'll remember tomorrow. David Talk clarifies that's Tom Kim. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I had a golf question for you, Mike, and I can't remember what it was. So let's just go ahead and move on to the recap screen. Let's see what we got here. Martin Green, Switzerland, money line -110, and Uruguay -1.5 at -105. I've got a round 1 2-ball tomorrow, early morning. Robert McIntyre -130 over Jake Knapp, and Mike McClure, Giants team total over 5.5 -108, and Yankees Orioles over 8 -105. Oh, I remember now. And it did pertain to golf. Mike McClure, you just mentioned you usually put your outrights out, Monday, or at least you take them Monday. But your simulations that you keep referring to, those are on SportsLine, correct?
Absolutely, yes. In the main leaderboard article, if you use the website, it'll definitely be one of the featured posted articles pretty much all week long during golf. So yes, all that data is up there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were one of the people who picked who last week at the U.S. Open to win?
That would be Bryson DeChambeau. We have been on Bryson a lot this year, so it was nice to finally see it come through for sure. It was definitely not a fun final 9 holes, but it was it was nice to see it come through despite not hitting a single fairway.
What happens to Rory McIlroy? Is Rory McIlroy ever going to win another major, or is he going to do this every time?
Mike?
I think that, yes, he probably gets one more at some point, but I would say that this was probably a very significant mental blow. And I think the time off is, it's frustrating for some, but I think the time off will be a great thing for him.
Yeah, I think, people overuse the word choke. But that was the perfect illustration of what choking actually is in sports. On 2 holes, 2 of the last 3, to miss a 2.5 footer and a 3.5 footer in that situation when you could have had a stranglehold on the tournament, that's pretty bad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for being in the chat. I see you, D. Johnson, also repping Buckets and Martin Green. Love all the Euros 2024 talk. Love all of the picks. Love all of you being in the chat, hitting the like button, asking questions, and putting in picks. Very exciting day today. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Early Edge. On behalf of Zack Cimini, Mike McClure, Martin Green, and Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. This is the Early Edge. Have a great day, everybody. We rest our case.